A desert planet with twin suns.
Why do I sense we've picked up another pathetic life form?
Use my knowledge. Much to learn. You still have.
Welcome back to Twin Sun Talks, folks. I'm your host, Jonah Liu, and we have a very special episode today. This is our first episode where we're going to have a guest on. So, coming all the way from Austin, Texas, he is charismatic, intelligent, was the king of Memorial High School, and will be the king of the world someday. We got Scott Fonseka. Scott, how's it going, buddy?
Happy to be here, Jonah. I'm doing well, thanks.
Dude, what's up? So Scott and I have been friends for 13, 14 years, something like that, right?
Something like that, yeah. Since quite a while.
Pre-K, kindergarten, somewhere in there. And, I mean, yeah, we're just nerd buddies. We like bonding over all that sort of stuff. It's just a fun thing.
Absolutely, yeah.
And so, okay, since this is your first time on, I'm going to ask you to give a brief profile of yourself. So if this is y'all's first time listening, when I have someone on, I'm going to be profiling them. I'm just going to have them give me their favorite movie, favorite character, favorite show, and if they could have a lightsaber, what color would it be? So Scott, why don't you run through that for us real fast?
All right, so my favorite movie is Rogue One, actually. Favorite character, I love me some Obi-Wan. Favorite TV show, it's got to be Mandalorian.
Yeah.
And my lightsaber color. Okay, this is the hardest one. Part of me deep down wants to do red, but I think I got to go green.
Green?
Got to go basic green. Yeah.
Yeah. He's a Force-sensitive man. Jedi counselor. I like
You already know.
Yeah, of course. Okay, I love that. Dude, I love that Rogue One's your favorite movie. That makes me happy. That's like my second favorite.
I think, yeah, it's just a masterpiece.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, let's just dive right into this. So what we're going to be talking about today is essentially just our favorite things about each of the Star Wars movies. And we're going to try to avoid spoilers if we can, but obviously that's not necessarily going to be completely possible. So if y'all haven't watched the movies yet, go ahead, go back to my first episode, go through what the best order to watch all of the Star Wars content is. And then you can come back. This podcast will still be here whenever you're done. So without further ado, let's go into our very first ever segment of I Have Spoken.
I have spoken.
Alrighty. Welcome to I Have Spoken, folks. So first off, we're going to start just with our favorite things about Star Wars in general. Scott, do you want to go first or do you want me to?
You go for it. I want to hear this.
Okay, perfect. I mean, I think that Star Wars just as a whole, I think it's the best escape that I've found in a franchise of any kind. Like, because I'm a huge Marvel guy. I love Harry Potter. I love Lord of the Rings, all that stuff. But I think out of all of those, Star Wars is the one that I've been able to emotionally connect with the most. And I like to watch movies just in general to go somewhere else. I don't want to have to worry about what's wrong with the world when I'm watching a movie. I think there's a time and a place for it. But with Star Wars and stuff like that, I like just an escape. I want to go into that world and become a member of the Grand Army of the Republic or the Rebellion or any part of that amazing universe. And I think that Star Wars is just the best escape that I've found. And
I couldn't have said it better. I think that's a great point. Like, there's no Earth on Star Wars. It's like, yeah, it's everything is out of this world and probably to our benefit, right? To our benefit,
exactly. Yeah. So
I think also for me, like, the thing about Star Wars is that it's so grand and it's like different planets a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, but it's obviously also very grounded in the human element of it. And it's like, it's conflict between families, or it's just essential trade disputes. So it's really it's spectacular, but it's grounded in a way that I think makes it really enjoyable for anyone who wants to watch it.
I completely agree, dude. There's something for everybody in it, and I think that that's 100% another thing that's super, super amazing about it. Okay, you got anything else, or do you want to just jump straight into the movies?
Let's jump into the movies. I'm excited for this,
man. Okay, once again, spoiler warning. If you haven't watched these movies, go ahead and stop this now if you don't want to hear any possible spoilers that we're going to throw around. But if not, we're going to be going in release order, which is the way that you should watch these movies, if it's your first time watching them. So first off, we're going to go with episode 4, A New Hope, all the way back in 1977. So for me, I love this movie. I mean, it's just the OG Star Wars. There's a certain element of nostalgia. I wasn't even like, it's not even nostalgia like I was around when it came out, but it's just like, it has this like warm and safe feeling to it almost, that it's like, I don't know how to describe it other than that. And I just think it holds up wonderfully too. I think that it's still just a joy to watch, and I really enjoy it.
I get what you mean. Yeah, at its time, it was just visionary, right?
Yeah,
The CGI was like out of this world, and it's just a great movie that, with good reason, captured the attention of the world.
exactly. Yeah. And I love, there's a great documentary. It's up on Disney Plus. I don't know where else it is, but it goes into George Lucas making the original trilogy. And just, I love hearing about his processes, and like essentially everyone was like, this isn't gonna work, like no one's gonna want to see this, and he kind of just pushed through and ended up creating one of the most iconic movie franchises in cinematic history. So I just think it's absolutely incredible, and it just
I like the little plug for Disney Plus there.
Exactly, of course. I'm not getting
gotta
paid
support the
for it,
corporate
guys.
parent.
I just I just support the machine. Okay, anything else, or are we just gonna keep on keeping
Man, I think there are lots of moments that stand out for me in terms of just when they're running through the Death Star, and just the whole design of the building is just something that you never really see otherwise. Like all these, like, it's like these shapes that are like black and white, and like it just looks awesome. You're completely immersed in every world you're in.
Yeah.
And a moment when like Han Solo's on Tatooine, and you first see him for the first time, you kind of think like, wow, this character is very different. Like
the cantina scene is just absolutely fantastic. Yeah,
it all stands out. Yeah,
no, I completely agree. And yeah, I do love how distinct the different locations are. Like you really feel like you're like, it's not like, oh, these were all just different locations on Earth. Like you really feel like you're traveling around the galaxy, and I think that that's a really special thing in Star Wars.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, yeah. Moving right along to Empire Strikes Back, episode 5. Honestly, like I very recently developed an appreciation for this movie, because I think a lot of people attribute this to being like the best movie in Star Wars, which I personally, I never really thought that as a kid, just because it wasn't quite as like, well, first of all, I already knew all the big twist at the very end, but which I think was what drew a lot of people to it initially. But I don't know. I always found it a little bit boring. But as I've grown up, I really appreciate the writing. I think that it's one of the best written Star Wars movies, personally. I love the locations. And I think that it kind of turned a lot of cinematic conventions on its head, especially with like the big twist at the end, and kind of how the movie ends just in general. I think that was kind of ahead of its time in that regard, but that's kind of
in terms of like, as a sequel, it just knocks it out of the park, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
I don't know if you ever heard. Yeah. I once heard Mark Hamill, like on this talk show, tell this story about just the press that episode 5 was getting when it first came out, because obviously episode 4 was so loved by the world, and there was a piece about how Lucasfilm leaked something to the press that Obi-Wan was going to be the bad guy. Did you ever hear that? Like,
no, I didn't.
There was something about it. I hope I'm remembering that, because now it's on a podcast. But
no worries.
I think there was something like that where they just they knew there was going to be a twist, but the twist was just completely unexpected.
That's crazy. Yeah, and
everyone thought
Mark Hamill and I guess James Earl Jones were really, and obviously George Lucas and the people that filmed it, were really the only ones that knew about that twist at the very end.
Yeah.
And he had to keep that secret. And like, I remember like he was talking about how Harrison Ford was like, "Hey kid, you didn't even tell me about that." Like, like during the premiere.
Yeah.
But like nobody knew. Like they kept it so under wraps, and it was very reminiscent of like, I think like what Marvel's doing now, where it's just nobody knows the full story. Like everybody's given like half a script, and
Exactly.
no
Yeah,
one gets to know
exactly.
everything.
Wasn't it originally that Obi-Wan killed your father? Wasn't that what? I think that may have been what was in the script.
I think maybe something like that. Yeah,
Something like that. Yeah.
there are a lot of different iterations, but yeah.
We really said we were going to try and avoid spoilers at the beginning of this, and then
Yeah,
went
exactly.
straight to the end.
Okay, well, might as well just clear that up, because I'm sure people aren't like the twist we're talking about is that Darth Vader is Luke's father. Like that's what we're talking about when we're being vague about it, dude. I'm sorry.
All right, I'm
I know
glad
that
you said spoiler alert.
Yeah, we're dancing around it, but might as well just say it. At this point.
Yeah, we're in too deep now.
Yeah. Oops. So apologies if that was a spoiler for anybody, but I did give an ample spoiler warning.
Now go back to episode 1 and watch
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Make sure you do this right. Okay, so I think that we can go on to episode 6, Return of the Jedi. I think that this is one of my favorite Star Wars movies. Like, I think it's just such a fun movie. I love the opening sequence, even though it doesn't make too much sense. Like if you look at the plan on paper, I just think that it's super fun. I think that the central conflict of it is super compelling. I love Luke's struggle between the light and the dark. I think the ending duel is super powerful, and I love Ian McDiarmid as the Emperor. I think that
I was just about to say that. Yeah, getting to see Emperor Palpatine almost more in this one was incredible.
Yeah. And I think the crazy thing is George Lucas cast like a 30 to 40-year-old to play this super ancient looking old dude back in whenever they first did this, and then he could reprise his role as like an appropriately aged person whenever they made the prequels. I just think that foresight was super interesting, and the fact that he could think that far, or I don't think that he thought that far ahead, but the fact that it worked out like that is really cool.
No, that's insane. More props to him. That's crazy.
Yeah. Do you got anything else to say about Return of the Jedi, or should we just move into the prequels?
Ewoks. Wow. What an addition.
Dude. Ewoks. They were integral to the plot.
Yeah. Let's move to the prequels.
Let's move to the prequels on that note. Okay, Phantom Menace, episode 1. For me, I love Liam Neeson in this movie. I think that he's kind of the standout. I love Darth Maul, obviously. And
I think you'd agree with me when I said Duel of the Fates.
Yes, Duel of the Fates, obviously. That's my next point.
Yeah. I think that's
the best part of the movie. And yeah, I think that it is a super interesting, because I don't remember from the Mandalorian behind the scenes gallery, Dave Filoni talks about how like it's the Duel of the Fates because it's essentially the fate of Anakin and whether or not he's going to have a master who's essentially suitable to teach him in Qui-Gon, or someone who's a little less prepared in Obi-Wan.
Wow.
And I just think that's a super cool way of looking at that fight. So
that is a very cool way. I like that. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think this movie gets a little more, I think it gets a bad rap for just what it is. I think that it's better than people give it credit for. I think that the bureaucracy and all that kind of, I don't know, the politics do get a little bit boring, but I think that overall it's a lot better than people give it credit for.
I'd agree with that. I totally agree. Yeah. I think the actor who plays Anakin is great.
Yeah.
He did a good job. Yeah.
Exactly. A little wide-eyed boy. Like he's just, I think that he plays the part really well.
Yeah.
Okay. Attack of the Clones.
Yeah.
Okay. Episode 2, Attack of the Clones. Well, I have less good things to say, but but I do love Ewan McGregor. I think that he's a standout throughout the entire trilogy.
Of course.
I really like Jango Fett. I think that he's awesome.
Yeah.
I love the time on Camino. I think that's all really cool. And I love Geonosis.
Yeah, I was going to say Geonosis. Yeah.
I think Geonosis is the obvious standout in this movie.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I think that the writing could be better, the acting could be better, but I think overall, I still really enjoy this movie. I watched it pretty recently, actually.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I think that it has the best line in cinema history, which is,
I don't like sand. Yeah. Yeah.
rough and irritating, and it gets everywhere.
I think that's you can't beat that. That's
No,
just
you can't. It's just it's peak cinema, man.
it really is. The character development is just off the charts. Yeah.
I am haunted by the kiss that you should never have given me.
You do a pretty good Hayden Christensen. You do a
I
pretty
don't know
good
whether
Hayden
to take that as a
Christensen.
compliment or I don't
Oh,
know.
true. It's a compliment. It's a compliment, I promise.
Okay, thank you. But yeah, you got anything else for that?
I'd say the Yoda Dooku is pretty cool.
Yeah.
That fight.
Yeah. Yeah. For Ataru, we get to see that in action. That's Yoda's main lightsaber.
Oh, okay, there
fighting
you
style.
go.
Yeah.
Fun fact, I didn't actually know that. There you go.
Fun fact. I'll have a whole episode on lightsabers and lightsaber fighting styles in the future, but that's a little sneak peek.
All right, there you go.
Anything else on Attack of the Clones?
Episode 3, let's do this.
Episode 3, let's go. Okay, Revenge of the Sith. This is my favorite thing. So my first bullet point is just everything, which is not
Everything,
true.
sure.
I definitely have stuff that I don't like quite as much about this movie, but this is my favorite Star Wars movie. And man, I love so much about it, but I condensed what I love about it to Ewan McGregor once again. I think that he carries this movie along with Ian McDiarmid once again. I think that I think that he is the standout. I just think that he's fantastic.
Like the way that he can act in a way that the audience knows, but you can tell the characters don't know with good reason. I think that's.
And this is another one that I've watched behind the scenes on, and he's a stage performer. Like he's used to performing in the theater, so like every take of his apparently was just perfect.
Wow.
And he gave like George Lucas a bunch of stuff to work with. Like he kind of gave different little nuanced performances throughout, and but he's a pro. And so he was that just gives me that much more respect for him as an actor. And yeah, it's incredible.
He's a very impressive guy. Yeah.
It's his movie. It's his movie. So it's super cool. And Mustafar is
oh my gosh,
incredible. Yeah, and
the high ground memes that have been spawned from that are too good.
Yeah.
High ground.
No, yeah, you can't high ground. Have you seen that Robot Chicken skit where it's just everyone just saying high ground over and over again? But I think I said this in another video, and this is once again a behind the scenes thing, but the Mustafar sequence had its own separate production facility and production team. Like. Wow. It was essentially the rest of the 2.5 hours were in one place. And then that 12-minute fight sequence was in Australia, like just in a completely different location, which is super cool. There's a whole documentary on YouTube where it kind of goes into the people that were behind making that scene possible. And it's super interesting. And it's just, I think it's a super emotional fight scene. It's it's my favorite duel in all of Star Wars. And then obviously we get to see Mace Windu shine, which is my guy.
Yes. Samuel L. Jackson. So good. So good.
To love.
Yeah.
And Order 66 is just heartbreaking. And I think that's another reason that I really love this movie. But I've been talking over you a bit. So what
no, you're good. I was just like, I think the fact that we all know what happens in episode 4, I think for any reasonable person that could make the movie less exciting.
Yeah.
Like, you'd think, because I know what's going to happen after, I know what's going to happen in this movie, but that really just is not the case at all.
Exactly.
And that's why it makes this such a good movie.
It keeps you on your toes, even though you know how this ends because you know where it's going after this.
You know the ending, but the ride is just absolutely worth it. Yeah,
exactly. And I think that's crucial when you're making a prequel movie of any kind, where you need to keep your audience engaged, even though they know what comes after.
It's a very good point. Yeah.
And so yeah, just mad respect, and it has a special place in my heart, even though the lines of dialogue aren't always the best. Love won't save you, Padme. Only my new powers can do that. But we pay attention to the other stuff.
We move past it, yeah.
Okay, let's move on to episode 7, Force Awakens. We took a huge jump in time. I mean, I think that's 12 years between, I think
Sounds
Revenge of
about
the Sith
right,
came out in
yeah.
2003 or something, and then wasn't until 2015 that we got Force Awakens. I think that, and this is true across all of the sequels, I think it's visually just magnificent.
Oh
I
my
think that
gosh, yeah.
it looks just so good.
Those
Um,
scenes on Jakku, the
yeah,
scenes in the destroyed Star Destroyer are just
exactly, dude.
amazing.
It's awesome. I think it does a good job of balancing old with new. It gets a lot of flack for being too much like A New Hope, but I think that they kind of needed to do that. Like, it was a safe play, but it was also necessary, because if they just jumped right out of the gate being too different, everyone was going to bash them for it. And so I think that it was a safe and a good call to kind of emulate, because like George Lucas has already said, like, Star Wars is like poetry; it rhymes. Like, there's a lot of
Yeah.
repeating
Okay.
elements, and so I think that it worked, and I think that they did a great job with it.
I totally agree. I think
Yeah.
they could go one of two directions, like make it very Star Wars or make it like not Star Wars at all. And I think they tended to the former. And I think that's
Yeah.
I love that movie. The characters introduced,
Same.
Finn is so cool.
Yeah.
John Boyega, and then Rey, played by Daisy Ridley, obviously.
And Kylo,
Amazing.
dude.
And Adam Driver as Kylo Ren. How could I even not mention him in the top
Star
two?
of the show, man. And yeah, I think that they did a really good job of setting up those characters to kind of get you interested, kind of hook you in to be
Yeah.
interested in how their characters are gonna be developed moving forward.
Like, just very, very interesting people and very, very well set up. I totally agree.
Yeah. And for those of you who don't know, we're saying like making it more or less like Star Wars because this is the first movie that was made under Disney whenever Disney acquired Star Wars. So if you're not familiar with that history, this was that the first kind of step into that universe for them. And so there was a lot of kind of speculation about how that was going to go. Also, I think Harrison Ford is fantastic in this movie. I think
Oh yeah. I think
incredible.
the scene of like Harrison Ford and Chewbacca when they come into the Millennium Falcon.
Chewie, we're home.
Man, Hayden
Fantastic.
Christensen and Harrison Ford. I think
Dude,
you can do both.
I got you.
I think one of your episodes of your podcast should just be you reading a Star Wars script and doing it.
Hey man, I'm down for that. If hey,
special podcast episode, yeah.
Yeah, if you want me to just reenact an entire
I will be
Star
commenting.
Wars movie.
I will be commenting below to make this happen. I hope you join me.
Perfect. # release the Jonah cut.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. I think we can move on to your movie.
Rogue One. My guy, Rogue One.
Okay, I'll let you start with this one.
It's, man, everything about this movie. It feels gritty. It feels real. It feels like it's an in the trenches type movie. All the characters are flawed yet really interesting. So it's flawed, so that makes them really interesting, I should say.
Yeah.
Gosh, Jyn Erso, having that kind of background of just being someone who runs from city to city and planet to planet to be unnoticed, and then all of a sudden have to save the rebellion.
Yeah,
man, I think it's a great movie. It's just aesthetically as well. It looks so nice.
It's so good.
That shot of the Star Destroyer over Jeddah. I don't know if you could beat that.
Yeah, the little eclipse. It's
yep.
So good. Oh. Yeah, I like to call it the world's most expensive plot hole explanation, which, like, in the most affectionate way.
Yeah,
because this is my second favorite Star Wars movie. Like, this is just barely behind Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah.
I think it was very fresh and new, kind of after Force Awakens was a little more reminiscent of the old. Like, I feel like this was a really new take, and I thought that was really cool. I think I agree that that the characters were really fantastic. I think that they were all super interesting. Can't wait for Andor.
That'll be a great Disney Plus series. Another plug for Disney Plus.
Yeah, of course.
Man, I hope you're getting paid for this.
Hail Disney. And
like, I think, the ending, just like
the hallway scene.
The experience of watching this movie for the first time is crazy, right?
It cannot be matched. Like, I was like, I felt like a little kid. Like, I was like, oh my gosh. Like, it was just like,
well, not only that, there's like the massive like catharsis at the end on Scarif, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And then 100%. You think, okay, wow, the movie's over. Okay.
Yeah.
That's probably how it should have ended. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the hallway scene.
Oh my gosh, dude. One of my favorite just moments in Star Wars. Like, I'm not even joking.
I totally agree.
Oh, It just makes my heart very happy.
It's not like it sets up perfectly. Yeah, you could watch that and then go watch A New Hope, and
exactly.
and
They
golden.
bleed together very well. Like if you watch them back to back, it works incredibly. Okay. Any final thoughts, or should we go on to The Last Jedi?
Final thoughts. K2SO, great droid. I think some of these newer movies, the droid additions have been really good to the Star Wars universe.
I completely agree.
Yeah,
and I'm very excited because he's supposed to be in Andor as well, right?
Yes, he is. Yeah,
I'm super excited.
I love K2SO. Yeah,
so do I. Yeah. Okay, let's move into episode 8, The Last Jedi, and I'll let you do most of the talking on this because I think you probably have nicer things.
Sure. Here's my opinion of The Last Jedi. I think The Last Jedi has some of the greatest scenes in Star Wars, without a doubt. I don't know. That's my personal opinion.
I think from a cinematic perspective, yes.
Sure. Yeah. I think there are scenes on Canto Bight which kind of distract from the story, but I think scenes like the throne room scene,
yes,
scenes like Luke on Crate, which I think are pretty up there in terms of Star Wars moments. I think the throne room Rey Ren type ordeal, I think when you watch that for the first time, I think it's unlike almost anything. And then Luke on Crate is you're just mind blown, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of where I get enjoyment from this movie is thinking about what I thought about the first time I ever watched it.
Yeah.
And it's you don't really know what to comprehend. It's obviously it has its flaws, sure.
Yeah.
But I think it's just a beautiful movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A little background on this. Scott and I went to a late night showing of this back in the day with one of our buddies. And yeah, I completely agree that the first viewing of it was unrivaled, mainly because I kind of don't like it as much every time I watch it. But that's neither here nor there. We're talking about our favorite parts of it. Scott, are you cool? We've talked about this before. Are you cool on coming back for I'm going to have a whole episode discussing my thoughts on the sequels. So would you be down to come and talk with me more about that, kind of balance me out?
I will return if we release the Jonah cut.
Okay, perfect. Okay, deal.
Yeah.
But I think that you hit most of my bullet points that I have. I think the throne room scene is fantastic. I think Crate is amazing.
Yeah.
I think that this is possibly the most visually stunning Star Wars film.
Mm-hmm.
I think that, like I said, cinematically, it's just fantastic. It just looks good.
There's a scene in the movie, where everything goes quiet, and I'm not going to say why, but everything goes quiet after so much noise, and I think that's the most beautifully shot and beautiful visual experience in the Star Wars universe.
I agree. I think that's I love that scene as well. I think that Mark Hamill shines, even though that he didn't love the iteration of the character that was in the movie. I think that they did and I think that could be tweaked by just a couple writing.
He put in a stellar performance here.
But I think that he did fantastic.
Yeah.
And I think that the nicest way that I can put it is this movie subverts your expectations. You're going to be caught off guard in a lot of ways. And yeah, I'll go more into my full thoughts on these sequel movies later. This episode is for positivity only. So any final thoughts, or should we go to Solo?
Let's do Solo.
Okay, moving right along. I think that this movie is far better than people give it credit for. I think that it got a very bad reputation because I think that it's a little bit of a unnecessary movie. I think that they probably could have served themselves a little bit better by going into another character rather than such a well-established and beloved character. I think that they were kind of get some flack for that either way. But I think it was a great cause for Han's cynicism, just kind of why he doesn't really trust people and is kind of out on his own. I think that Donald Glover is the standout as Lando Calrissian.
Yep.
I love Woody Harrelson's character as well. I think that the locations in this movie are some of the best. And I think that it's just a fun movie. I enjoy it. It's not going to be the one that I'm like, hey, let's just watch Solo out of the blue, but it's not one that I would be mad about watching either. Like it's a very I think that it's a very solid movie.
I totally agree. It's a fun action adventure, right?
Yeah.
You um, I think it has some great scenes. The Kessel Run
Yes.
was an awesome scene. I think that was
Fantastic.
awesome. Yeah, I
You
think
get some payoff from that, just that reference back in A New Hope. It's just like, yeah, I love it.
something about what was the line in Solo is like, oh, not if you round down or something.
Exactly. It's like, yeah, I don't
That's just classic Han. I love that.
exactly.
Yeah. What else about this movie? I thought Amelia Clarke as Kira
Yes.
put a great performance.
I completely
I didn't
agree.
know what to expect with her character, given that like obviously Han and Leia have a history in the trilogy, but
Yeah,
I think she did a really good job, and it was very unexpected,
I think so too.
along with Paul Bettany's character.
Oh, dude, I completely forget that Paul Bettany's in this movie, but yes,
Yeah.
he's fantastic.
Dryden Voss, right?
Yes, of course.
He's awesome.
Yeah, and then, dude, yeah, I don't even know. Like, I just think it's good. I like it a lot, and I think that it got. I don't know. I think people just were looking for reasons to hate on it, but I love that. I love the kind of like almost World War I trench warfare vibes at the very beginning whenever he's in the
Yes.
Empire, and
Those were awesome.
I just think it's good. Like I think
Yeah.
I just think it's a solid movie.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Okay. Now it's time for Razzle Skywalker, and once again, I'll let you talk for most of it.
Man. So personally, I like Rise of Skywalker when I watched it. So it's like Disney, I don't know, they've put themselves into a corner with this one.
Mhm.
Obviously, unfortunate things like the passing of Carrie Fisher.
Yeah,
They probably couldn't go all the narrative directions that they wanted to go.
definitely.
And I think the use of Adam Driver as a villain in the trilogy hurt them almost because he's such a likable, like you kind of feel for Ben Solo, you feel for
Yeah.
Kylo Ren, right? So you almost need a bigger bad to be the main antagonist.
No, I
And
agree.
so they bring back Palpatine, and they tie in Palpatine with a couple familial ties, we'll say.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah. Oh shoot, yeah.
Yeah, it's fine. We're past the point of avoiding spoilers. It's okay.
Okay, yeah. Sorry for anyone who's listening. Yeah. And I think they wrap it up well. I think not all the storylines were as developed throughout the trilogy and throughout this movie that I'd like them to be, specifically storylines with Finn.
Mhm.
But I still think it's a fun movie to watch. It's just a fun movie. I think having Lando in at the end
Yes.
was awesome. What else from this movie? Do you have a favorite part, Tony?
I think it's a very exciting movie. I
Yeah.
think that it keeps you entertained and it holds your attention. And my pitfalls with it is when I start really thinking about it afterwards, but I won't talk about those until later. I think that there's some solid closure with a lot of the characters. I completely agree that I wish that they had developed some of them more.
Yeah.
I think that there's some decent twists.
I will say, I think Adam Driver's acting as Kylo Ren and Ben in this movie is incredible.
100%. He carries the movie.
His tortured kind of persona,
just
insane.
you can see the conflict in him, and
Yeah.
he just portrays that beautifully. And I think that once again the visuals are great. I think there's some solid emotional moments.
Yeah.
And I think that they could have played off those a little bit better, but I think that overall I think it's better than I give it credit for, but I tend to focus on the things that I don't like it more than the things that I do.
Sure,
That's why
sure.
I'm going to stop talking now.
I think, yeah, the majority of my opinions come from, like, what did I feel like after the first watch? And I feel like after coming out of this movie, I was like, wow, that was very satisfying, you know,
I
in
agree.
terms of storylines were wrapped up, and it's just a fun movie to see, like, Rey and Ren kind of fighting on a place that we will not mention.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think that after the first viewing, and that's like what I said in my first point, it's like while you're watching it, it's amazing. It's just, I think for me at least, when you start to think about it and the implications of some of the things that happen afterwards, a little too in depth, because that's what I do.
You can't overthink these things.
Yeah. then it starts to get a little iffy. But that's just
Yeah.
that's,
No. Yeah.
that's my
I
2
get it.
cents.
Yeah.
But we'll talk about that more in another episode. Stay tuned for that one. Okay, so I think that's all we have for I Have Spoken. I'm going to move into a really quick I've got a bad feeling about this.
I got a bad feeling about this.
Okay, so there's a reason that we're only doing movies in this episode, because I didn't feel like I could in good conscience do
Uh-oh.
favorite things about shows and movies, because Scott Fonseca hasn't watched the Clone Wars.
Uh-oh.
And I really want the world to know that, because I think I might have called him my friend earlier. Technically, he's my friend on probation because he hasn't watched Clone Wars.
Yeah.
And I mean, yeah, I could talk about, I don't know.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. I thought you might bring this up. You know.
Yeah. I mean, I could talk about anything in the Star Wars universe that grinds my gears, and this is the first I've got a bad feeling about this segment that I'm doing.
This is the first one.
This is the first one.
Okay, I'm kind of honored. I mean, I don't know if I should watch it now, because then I just discredit your entire first. I got a bad feeling about
No,
this.
what you should do is you should go back and watch episodes 2 and 3 of this podcast, which go through my roadmap of the Clone Wars, which makes it easy and manageable to watch. And I think that there's really no excuse for you to not, especially since you've been on this now. And
Fair enough. You know.
And I think that, if any of y'all want to start a hashtag Scott's the worst until he watches the Clone Wars, then feel free to do that. And just like, I'm not going to say you should harass him on social media, but like, if you did, I wouldn't discourage it.
You know what? That is a very long hashtag. I don't know if you want to type that hashtag. You need something more snappy, like release the Jonah cut.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Okay, that's all that I got for I've got a bad feeling about this. But I just wanted to call him out a bit.
I'll get to it.
And then let's go straight into our first segment of the rank of master.
You are on this council, but we do not grant you the rank of master.
Okay, so essentially what we're going to be doing in this segment, it's going to be an ongoing incentive for people to come back as guests on this podcast. So you essentially start out as a youngling, that is your starting rank, and each time you win this segment, you move up a rank to Padawan, then Knight, and finally to Master. And you'll be given 3 questions of ambiguous point values that get progressively more difficult, and much like the real Jedi Council, I will let my personal biases and opinions of you as a person sway me to whether or not you should progress to the next rank, as well as your performance, I suppose. But maybe if you have watched Clone Wars, you might be in a better standing with me.
Yeah, I have a bad feeling about this one.
Hey, he said it. So, and also, if you ask for context with any of these questions within the movies, I may or may not give it to you. Who knows? So, the first question that I have for you, Scott, is where is the main Jedi temple located during the Clone Wars era?
You just had to do Clone Wars, didn't you? It is on.
You don't have to watch the Clone Wars to know this. You know that, right?
I know. I'm just blanking. Coruscant?
Yes, Coruscant.
Woo! Okay.
Okay. You're 1 for 1 so far.
Okay.
What is the terminology for an alternative blaster projectile setting characterized by a unique sound, blue ring, and non-fatal but immobilizing effect?
So it's not going to kill you. Okay. And it's like the setting of the blaster?
Yes. So there's a blaster setting where it's like a pure beam of plasma that can like kill you.
Is it called stun?
Yes, it is.
Oh my gosh. I don't think anyone who's listening knows how stressed I am right now.
He's 2 for 2 right now.
Woo-hoo-hoo.
Well done. Yes, that is called a stun bolt. And if you watch the movies, that's like what the stormtroopers do to Leia in episode 4, A New Hope. That's what Leia does to Poe in episode 8. It's essentially just an immobilizing blast, non-fatal, but it will knock a person out, assuming that they're not like above the threshold for like, I think that there's some beings that are big enough that like stun bolts would affect them. But okay, so last question for this segment, and then I will make my verdict on whether or not you should progress in rank.
Okay.
But what is the name of the iconic score that plays during the duel between Darth Maul and Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan Kenobi in Episode 1, The Phantom Menace?
Okay. The Duel of the Fates by John Williams.
That is correct.
Yes.
Alrighty. So, the council has made a decision. And by the council, I mean me.
Okay.
You will progress to the rank of Padawan. Congratulations.
Yes.
So, congratulations. You're the first winner of the rank of Master. And you're not on this council, and we do not grant you the rank of Master, but you do not have to take a seat. So, congratulations.
Okay, yes.
Next time you're on, we'll do this again. And if you win once again, you will progress to the rank of Knight, and then you will only be one step away from the rank of Master, assuming that you win. So yeah, how do you feel?
I feel good. You know, I kind of, in retrospect, I kind of liked Youngling. I think that would have been a good like musician name. Like, Youngling.
Yeah.
But no, Padawan, also a good musician name.
Yeah. Hey, now you're safe from the Youngling Slayer 9000. So don't worry.
Yeah. I'm not trying to get gotten by Anakin Skywalker.
Exactly.
Or anything like that.
Exactly. Okay, so this wouldn't be a proper episode if I didn't leave y'all with a little bit more. Alrighty. So today what I got for y'all is a little fact about Ewoks. So the Ewok language is called Ewokese, and it is actually a combination of Tibetan and Nepalese. I don't know if I pronounced that correctly, but Nepal's language. And so, yeah, so that's your little tidbit, because I don't think that would ever come up. I could have actually brought it up when we were talking about Ewoks in episode 6, but
well. Do you know how to speak it, Jonah?
Yubnub.
So it's Ewokese?
Ewokese.
No, but since
it's
Ewokese.
Yeah, I see what you did.
There you go.
Knee slap.
We can cut that out.
No, it's staying in. Well, that's all that we have for today, folks. Scott, thank you so much for coming on. This was super, super fun.
Thank you so much for having me. I had a great time.
Dude, this is a blast. And yeah, of course, we'll have you back on to talk about the sequels, or maybe before that. But yeah, so thank all of y'all for listening. If this was y'all's first time, I really hope that y'all appreciated our ramblings about these movies. If y'all want to check out more of our stuff, all of our episodes are up on our website. That is twinsuntalks.wixsite.com/twin-sun. You can also find them on YouTube. That is, we are Twin Sun Talks Podcast. You can also follow us on Instagram for updates about when episodes are coming out at Twin Sun Talks. That is all that I have for y'all today, folks. Scott, anything else?
I think that's it.
Nothing?
Thanks for listening.
Cool. Okay, so y'all have taken your first steps into a larger world. May the Force be with you, and I will see y'all in the next episode. Bye, folks.